Welcome to Amanda Hall Psychic mini workshop series here on Facebook Live. I hope you're having an absolutely awesome week wherever you are in this planet of ours. I'd like to welcome you and thank you again for joining us week after week, as you do, as we work our way around the zodiac and we talk about different things that are happening in the world of astrology. You know, some weeks we talk about the full moon, other weeks we talk about the new moon, we talk about some of the planetary influences that might be happening, and we also touch on other psychic subjects. So I'd like to just take a moment or two to introduce myself. My name's Amanda Hall Psychic. I've been in the psychic industry for well over 40 years here in Australia. I've been inducted into the Psychic Hall of Fame. I've won many industry awards, and I'm really proud to be able to bring this teaching series to you and sharing with you some of my knowledge that I've sort of amassed over my 40-year career. It's not a show where I give away complimentary or free readings. I do that on my previous show out of the USA called on A1R Psychic Radio on Moonstruck TV. You can find it here on Facebook. For those of you that might want to sort of go back and catch up on some of my previous workshops or some of my shows on A1R Psychic Radio, I do have a Facebook page set up that's called Workshops and Shows. So you'll find all of them there where you can play catch up with them. It's been a very interesting week astrologically because there's certain times of the year where I suppose the planetary alignments are a little bit more intense than what they are at other times. And it sort of always fascinates me for all the years that I've been working with astrology, how sort of, you know, some planets in our solar system can play such a big effect and have such a big role in our lives for each and every one of us, even though we might believe that we're in control of our own destiny and we make the decisions and we do this and we do that. And we do have the right to sort of lay claim to that. But at the same time, we are heavily influenced by the planetary configurations and the things that are happening in our solar system. They do play a role in our lives more so than what we realize. So this week, before I kick the workshop off, and we are up to workshop number 68, and the workshop's called Good Luck this week, I want to just take you for a little trip around the universe about what's actually happening around the universe at the moment, because I think this might explain to some of you why you've been feeling the way that you are. Is this the right time to bring up these conversations that have been rolling around in my head? And why am I feeling sort of like, you know, one minute I'm feeling very calm and then the next minute I feel like I'm on a seesaw going up and down and everything's sort of like a push-pull energy, and I sort of can't seem to sort of shake this sort of like I should be doing something sort of energy. So the sun at the moment is in Gemini. So when the sun's in Gemini, it's always an exciting time of the year, I think, when lots of ideas come in and out of our mind and go flick, 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 flick. You know, we're really sometimes hard to harness the energy that's going on because there's so many new ideas and thought patterns, and should I let go of this? Should I keep this? Should I do that? Should I make changes and whatever? And for those of you that are here in Australia, it's our winter time, and it's a time when I think we all hibernate a little bit more and spend a little bit more time indoors. And for us, we tend to think that's the reasons why we're questioning our lives so much, and it's the middle of the year. But for those of you, our family, that are in the northern hemisphere, where you're in your beautiful summer months of the year, it's sort of, you can't seem to understand why you've got this sort of restless energy. Oh, it must be because the weather's warm when I'm outdoors and I'm spending more time out, that my mind's a little bit freer, that I can allow these thought patterns. It's more to do with the sun in Cancer than it is depending on what part of the world you're in. It's because where the sun is astrologically. But also at the moment, we have a couple of major configurations going on that I want to talk about. And one of them is Mercury, the planet of communication, is conjunct or holding hands with the planet of action, Mars. They're both sitting in Cancer at the moment. And what this means for us lay people is it's the perfect time to bring up conversations or have that deep and meaningful talk with our loved ones or our family and the people that are closest to us that maybe we've been putting off for a while. Is this the time to sit down and talk about the things that have been troubling us and bothering us? Is it the time to sort of, you know, sit down and sort of say, look, I've noticed that there's been changes with you. How are you going? You know, you seem a little bit distant. You seem excited. Whatever the case may be, it's a very gentle time. It's a time where conversations would mostly be non-threatening, non-confrontational. It's a time when we can bring up those tricky or delicate areas that maybe we've been putting off, that we know we should have a conversation about, but we didn't want to start an argument. Well, now's the perfect time for that, because everybody's sort of in a much more calmer, relaxed sort of mode, and it's not going to be, I'm not going to say that there won't be some raised voices or a little bit of a temper there, but nothing like we would normally expect from Mars. It's like everything's sort of been calmed right down. So it's the perfect time for that. At the opposite end of the spectrum, the opposite sign in Capricorn, which is exactly 6 signs away, this is where we find the public stuff. This is where we find what's going on the world stage in governments and big business and things around the world. Well, it's in the exact opposite sort of mode. There's, you know, they all seem to be, when I say they, I'm talking about politicians and industry leaders, all seem to be trying to find the easy way out, the path of least resistance, even though they're being pushed and poked and prodded to make changes, to come up with some transformations, to make things better, to really sort of be much more disciplined in their approach of how they're approaching things. They're trotting out the same information just with a different color on it. And it's like, you know, really, do you think we're all that stupid that we haven't heard all this propaganda and these lies and this information before, maybe in a slightly different way? And it's almost like they've become complacent, that they've been in power, whether it's been a week or 6 years, they've all been in power a little bit too long. They're all full of their own ego and sort of believing that their way is the only way, and us peasants should be listening to what they've got to say. Now, that's a very dangerous position for them to be in if they truly believe that they can keep trotting out the same information and the general public haven't cottoned on to the fact that here we go again with them peddling this, you know, their lies, their misconceptions of things, and really sort of treating us all like a bunch of idiots. And, you know, this can be in many areas, whether it be politics or whether it be on climate change or how we're dealing with world poverty or how we're dealing with crises in the world, with trouble spots where there's, you know, conflict going on. It doesn't matter. It's still collectively the whole globe that needs to sort of sit up, take a bit of notice and say, hang on a minute, I don't agree with this anymore. It's time for all of us to grow a voice. Now, there'll be many parts of the world where people will be heading into elections, whether they're national elections or whether they're local elections. Make sure this time your vote counts, that you have a voice and use it, because this is the only way collectively as a nation of people or a globe of people that we are going to get change, and we are going to get the people that are in the top jobs to listen to us, is that we've all got to use our voices in whatever form that can be. So anyway, that was just my little trip around the universe this week. I wanted to share that with you because it is so prominent and it is so major in our lives. With, as I'll just to recap, we've got Mercury, the planet of communication, conjunct holding hands with Mars in Cancer. That's the personal stuff. That's the stuff around our home. On the world stage, we've got holding hands or conjunct. We've got the a planetary configuration known as the South Node, which is trying to take the easy way out of a situation, conjunct or holding hands with the planet Saturn, which is the planet of discipline and structure, also conjunct and holding hands with the planet Pluto, the planet of power and transformation, and they're all sitting in Capricorn. So that's where we get the influence of big business, government, the stuff that's the world stuff. So it's something that we all need to take responsibility for. So let's get on with our workshop this week, and I'm really excited to talk about this week that the workshop we're going to be talking about today is good luck. Now, when we hear that word, most of us sort of melt a little bit and think, oh, you beauty, I'm going to win the lottery or I'm going to win the lotto. Well, good luck doesn't always come in forms of winning money or making changes in our lives in that way. Good luck can come in many areas of our life. Now, it's an interesting word, luck, because most of us only tend to talk about it when we feel our luck is failing us. You know, we say, oh, my luck's not with me at the moment, everything's going wrong in my life. And we tend to look at it on the negative. We never turn around and say, wow, my life's great, I've got good luck following me wherever I go. We don't tend to sort of look at it in that way. But most of us are always looking to try and find ways to improve things in our life. And it's an interesting sort of concept, because I don't necessarily look at good luck as, oh, yippee doodle dandy, I'm going to win the lotto, or I've got extra money coming in from an unexpected source. I tend to look at good luck as being, well, if things are starting to unfold in my life and things are easy and life is cruisy, then my luck or my good luck is working for me, that I'm in sync with my life, I'm listening to the prompts from the universe, and things are starting to flow. And it's because of that that I'm being rewarded in a nice sort of way. So a lot of times we tend to sort of think of, we've got to, good luck only favors those that really deserve it. No, well, good luck's one of those things that I think we can all have in our lives, but I think we all have to contribute towards it too. There's no point in sitting on the couch or the sofa and saying, woe is me, nothing ever happens to me, nothing good ever happens in my life. Oh, I'm just going to sit here and feel miserable. We can turn that round into a positive and get up off the couch or the sofa and say, okay, great. Now I need to make some changes in my life. I'm not happy with the way my life's unfolding. What can I do to improve it? What can I do to kickstart something? What can I do to try and make my life more bearable? And usually by doing that and coming up with a couple of ideas, or even just one idea to start putting our energies into, we change our mindset. And by changing our mindset from negative to positive, we start to see things slowly but surely changing in our lives. And by changing that mindset to the glass being half full instead of being half empty, we start to see life changing. And we start to think, oh, finally, things are moving, things are starting to progress. But what we fail to realize is we've been the one that's instigated that. By changing our thought patterns, changing our outlook, and sort of trying to move things into a good cycle instead of a not so good cycle, we actually start to kickstart the momentum of change. And I know lots of people say to me, oh, what's your good luck charm? What do you do to bring good luck into your life? All these sort of things. Look, I'm not saying that, good luck charms aren't useful or helpful. If that's what you believe in, that's fantastic. That's great. I try and work on a little bit more of a practical level, and I try and always find something positive, even out of the most negative situation. If I find something's not working in my life, I try and sit down and analyze it and say, well, okay, what is the universe trying to share with me here? Why is this so difficult? Why are things not panning out the way that I anticipated or the way I wanted them to? Is there a message here for me? Is it time to reevaluate, reassess, relook at that particular situation? Has it come to the end of its use-by date? Is it time for me to let go of that and maybe sort of just be for a little while and just allow things to come back towards me, some new inspiration, some new ideas? We don't always have to be moving in the fast lane. And I think that's the thing that I suppose I learned over the years of being in the psychic industry, that not everything has a longevity. We tend to sort of think, oh, good, well, when I get this, then I'm going to be completely happy and my luck will be with me. Or, once I've got this amount of money, I'm going to feel more prosperous and I'm going to attract more good luck because I've got $50 in the bank, whatever the case may be. And it's all these boundaries or these restrictions that we put up, these barriers that we put up, instead of opening ourselves up to saying, okay, I'm open and I'm ready to receive whatever is coming my way. And out of that, I will try and look at it and find a positive. And I will try and build on that. I will try and add to that to enhance my good luck. So it's like, it's not necessarily as any number any more lucky than another one if you're taking a game of chance. It's what works for you. What are the numbers? I'm not a numbers person. I'm not a numerologist at all. But I know that there's certain sequences of numbers that come up in my life that have done all my life, and I've sort of looked upon it and thought, well, okay, that must be something connected with my lucky number, or something that seems to spell good omens for me, because that's what I find personally works for me. I'm sure if you consulted a numerologist, they might be able to tell you that there's a series of numbers that work better for you, on how they calculate, from your date of birth and your name and all those sort of things. But I think, we can all look around and see the patterning in our own lives. For me, if I feel stuck or I start to feel that I feel repressed or heavy or feel like I'm walking around carrying a very heavy load, I try and look at what are the things in my life that are making me feel that way. I also take notice of, when I'm working with clients, if something really jumps out at me in a reading, is that not just a message for the client, but could that be a message from spirit for me to also take notice of and have a look at, and sort of think whether or not that may have some sort of, trigger for me to look at something else in my life. So luck is something that I believe that we create ourselves. I don't think there's a magical formula to say, okay, now by doing this, by standing on your head, you're going to create good luck. I think a lot of that is a mindset and being open and willing to make changes. We tend to think as human beings that we want everything to just sort of stay the same. We want to sort of do the job once and put it in place, and that's it, walk away and forget about it, and it should all happen. Well, that isn't always the way things are. Life is about evolution. It's about change. It's about being able to sort of work with the energy and to know when to let go of something and to sort of make space for something new in our lives. And I quite often refer to things like this when I'm talking with a client. If you've got a cupboard full of clothes and it's jam-packed full and you can't fit anything else in, well, if your life is like that cupboard, that it's full to capacity because you haven't let go of anything, then how can you hope to attract new? How can you hope to attract something lucky or new or positive in your life if the cupboard is full? You've got to actually let go of, release, throw out, pass on to someone else, remove from that cupboard some of that clothing, so we've got a little space, so that we've got the space for something new to come in. And then as it starts to come in, then maybe we need to release other things and other things and other things, so that we can then start to attract more new things in our lives. So if we were going to be working with a good luck candle, and normally I sort of teach you to put down on a piece of paper 3 things that you might want to attract to you and 3 things that you want to let go of. But when we're working with something like a good luck candle, I think it's a time, in a sense, to be thankful. To look around and say, okay, what are the things that I'm grateful for in my life? What are the things that I'm thankful for? Try and write down 3 things on a piece of paper, good things that have happened to you in the last month, things that you might have been taken a little bit by surprise by. Somebody might have arrived with a bunch of flowers and that was really a beautiful gesture. You weren't expecting that. Oh, wow, thank you very much. Oh, what did I do to deserve this? Oh, that's just because you helped me last week. That's a form of good luck, because somebody's rewarded you with something that you weren't expecting. And that's how I think that you need to start looking at these things, is that there's lots of things that happen to you in your day-to-day life that we don't tend to look at and give thanks to, that we just take it in our stride and say, oh, well, that was lovely at the time. But instead of sort of saying thank you to that and enhancing that energy, and by acknowledging and enhancing that energy, we actually attract more of it to us. It's really interesting. Over the years I've worked with energy, and I don't even know that I put that label on it to begin with, but I started to become aware in the last 5 to 10 years that energy was more prevalent than what we all gave it credit for. And I started to look at that when I started to say thank you and appreciate the things that were happening in my life, even something as simple as somebody bringing me a bunch of flowers to say thank you, you've been a great help, or acknowledging something that I've done, by really sitting there and focusing on that and acknowledging it and being in the moment and being very grateful and mindful of what the circumstances were that brought about this, that I actually started to change, in a sense, the DNA energy, my energy started to change, and more positive things started to happen without me having to physically put as much effort into it as I once was, because I was acknowledging that I was on the right path, I was grateful, I was thankful, and I was humble. So the more I started to do with that, the more brilliant ideas I got, the more opportunities that started to come my way. And it's because of a change in mindset. And it was you know, it was working with lots of very amazing professional people over the years, and I did lots of trade shows, and I got to meet some very interesting and very unusual people, and not everybody was famous, but you know, you'd work with this one and that one and having little conversations or going out for a bite to eat, and you'd have talks about your work and what you'd found and whatever. You always found that you learnt something. There was something new that you could say, wow, I didn't realize that. Isn't that interesting? Or, gee, I've always thought that way, but I've never met anybody else that thought that way. And all of a sudden, then it was sort of like a tick in a box. And I can remember working with a Maori lady who told me that no matter what she received in her life, good, bad, or indifferent, she always thanked the gods. She always thanked the gods for the experience. And she said, by doing that, by being grateful and being humble, you will receive more good in your life than you will bad. And I sat there and I thought about that, and I thought about it a lot. And I thought that's a very, very interesting concept. And over the years, I got to know her a little bit better. And she was one of these people that she'd had, you know, quite a bit of tragedy and trials in her life, but she always had a smile on her face. And she was always very grateful for what she received, whether it was a reading or whether it was a compliment or whether it was somebody that said you look nice today or whatever. She always took the time to acknowledge that. And I started to realize then that we don't take the time to acknowledge the good things that happen in our life, the luck, the opportunities, the little things in life as much as we should. And I started to delve a little bit more deeply into that. And I started to study people that were around me in the working environment and see who was prospering and who wasn't prospering as well. And the people that were very grateful and very humble and thankful for what they were receiving and, you know, sort of paid homage to that every day seemed to be progressing and being rewarded with more knowledge, more information, and, you know, probably a little bit more work and all those sort of things. And I started to see them prosper and flourish. Those that were sort of a little bit negative, those that sort of believed that they should have had more, were a little bit jealous or started to be nasty, I started to notice that they were getting less and less rewards. And I thought, again, isn't this interesting? It's an interesting concept. You can have all the props around you to attract good luck. And I'm going to talk about my days in expos in a minute, that, you know, lots of times at expos you'd see people, everybody would have an individual table set up where they sat to read. And it was interesting to look around the room at the colours and the choices of trinkets and things that people would have on their desk. Some people would have literally nothing, only their deck of cards. Other people would have crystals and good luck charms, and they'd have feng shui, and they'd have this and different sets of cards and whatever. And it was almost no room for anybody to sit down and have a reading. But that was what they needed to make them feel secure. But I also sort of remember people getting tape measures out and sort of saying, I've got to have my table at a certain angle and this for the feng shui and the whatevers and the whatevers. And I used to think, is that really necessary? Or is it something that just, if they don't have that, if they feel that they're out of their routine or out of their control, they talk themselves into not doing well? So I tried an experiment once that where, you know, people were sort of saying, you know, all these different things. And I particularly picked a spot that was out of eyesight of anybody, behind a room divider where nobody could see me. And I just sat there with a very simple table with my cards and my pad and pen and my ephemeris to do their astrology. And that was it. And at the end of the expo, I'd topped the expo. And everybody said to me, well, how did you do that? You weren't even visible and you didn't have any feng shui things or mirrors or lucky charms or whatever going anyway. And I said to them, it was my mindset. I sat there and I was very grateful for every reading that I got. I tried to be mindful that, you know, asking for only the right people to be attracted to me, the people that I could help. And that, you know, I wished everybody well. I wished them luck and prosperity for their journey ahead. And that was what, by having my mindset that way, that I attracted my own good luck. So I tried the experiment a few more times, not every week or every time I went away to an expo, but every now and then when I was in the, you know, a negative room full of people, I would deliberately pick the most inconspicuous spot to sit where nobody could see me from the front, that couldn't pick me because they knew me or whatever. and it worked every time. And that's when I started to realize that we create our own good luck. Nobody does it for us. We create it ourselves. So we need to be very mindful of that. So if you're going to be working with a candle, can I suggest write down what you think that you'd like to attract in your life, or what you're grateful for, what you're thankful for that's happened in your life. Burn your candle for 15 minutes to 2 hours. I like to work with candles on a 7-day cycle. That way we sort of bring in the different moon cycles and things like that I'll work with in the month. But burning your candle, and maybe you've got some things that you want to sort of attract new luck or new opportunities to you in your life in the next 7 days, but it doesn't have to be just for 7 days. We can burn a good luck candle at any time when we need to sort of, you know, ramp up the energy in our lives, or sort of start to attract new things, or, you know, you might want some flashes of brilliance. You might want some new ideas coming into your life. Also, too, this week I'm going to focus the gift box set, which I talk about each workshop. But this week, rather than put 3 candles of the same in there, I'm showing you that you can have different ones. I've made this gift box up with a good luck, a love, and a tarot candle to show you that there is 28 candles in the range, and you can make your gift box up to suit your own individual needs. And for those of you that don't want to work with a candle, or can't work with a candle because you've got little children or pets, you can get a melt warmer from the local department store or supermarket. Take a couple of teaspoons of soy wax out of your candle the first day, popping it in your melt warmer. You can leave your melt warmer going all day and just turn it off when you're, you know, finished for the day. You can write your list out the same as you would in popping it underneath the candle. You pop it underneath the melt warmer, and that will also help you. On next week's workshop, we're going to be talking about the full moon in Sagittarius. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you. If you'd like to leave a message in the comments box to say where you're from, how the weather is, I'd be happy to sort of reply to you in the next couple of days. I do not give away free readings, and I will not answer readings for you free of charge. If it's something that relates to the Good Luck workshop, I'm happy to answer a question on that. So until next week, be kind to each other. If you want to have a personal reading with me, you can either inbox me, or you can head to my website, www.amandahallpsychic.com.au. There you will find you have an opportunity to sign up for our newsletter, and you will get a complimentary free astrology chart. So until next week, be kind to each other, have an absolutely awesome week, and don't forget, create your own good luck. Bye for now.